when you talk about like tier one, the tiers, when you're talking about this, first of all, like, can you define that and explain what that looks like in a school? And then why is your focus on elevating that practice?
Okay, such a good question. So
I only
when we
ask
talk
good
about
questions. I only ask good questions.
when we talk about tier one instruction, it's important to kind of first talk about multi-tiered systems of support, right? So tier one is what we talk about when we talk about multi-tiered systems of support when it comes to instruction. And that's really what I'm focusing on because there's a whole behavior component as well.
Yeah.
But tier one instruction is often referred to as core or universal. So this is the instruction that all students should be receiving. And part of the challenge, I think, is that when we call something core or universal, in a lot of educators' minds, it's like, oh, well, then that's whole group because everybody needs it, right? So that's tier one. Then we have tier two, and that's the next layer. So if tier one wasn't effective for students because it was either too rigorous and challenging or not rigorous and challenging enough, then we have tier two support or enrichment, right? So we have kids who might need additional support. They didn't quite they didn't quite get tier one. They're going to need a little more from the educator to really get the information, master a skill, or they might need to go a little further because the tier one wasn't enough to really
Right.
continually to push them. Then we have tier three, that's intervention for more significant academic kind of gaps and holes that need to be addressed. And in a lot of schools, when kids need tier three, they're pulled out of a classroom for that. And so I don't spend a ton of time in the book talking about tier two and tier three. I do address the fact that if we start to design
Mhm.
with the station rotation, creating opportunities for educators to meet the needs of small groups of learners, the focus in the book is tier one, but I do also address how that could be leveraged for tier two and tier three as well to keep those kids in the classroom. But for me, when I talk about hey, let's elevate tier one instruction, I want educators to start getting more intentional about what are they presenting in whole group versus what are they presenting in small group, right? If they're going to present a concept and skill that is complex, it is nuanced, kids have classically struggled with it, or the pre-assessment or formative assessment data shows me kids are in wildly different places in relation to this concept or skill, why on earth would I introduce that whole group, right?
Mhm.
Instead, I'm going to use the data to kind of inform my grouping, and I am going to differentiate right out of the gate for small groups. So hopefully, tier one instruction is as effective as possible. Kids are getting the instruction at a level that works for them with the scaffolds they need to make sense of it so that there's less need for that tier two, tier three support and intervention.